name is Carlos Aldecoa, President of Maximus Coffee. Good afternoon. I want to thank the opportunity to be here and testify in front of the committee. We have been in the coffee industry for 3 generations, dating back to Spain and Mexico. When we evaluated sites years ago to grow and develop our business, we looked at Houston. And why Houston? Because it is really the ideal location for coffee growth, coffee development. All coffee must be imported from 130, 120 countries worldwide. So you take the whole equatorial belt, and the U.S. is the #1 consumer of coffee. So the ideal location is a central location, and it must be a port city. So Houston fit that criteria. Again, coffee is a commodity, second in trading volume after oil. So it's a substantial liquid commodity. For every futures traded contract, there is a physical lot that's required to support that. So that's what the designation means. All that coffee that's stored today in Houston is supporting the futures market. Again, as you look at all the commodities, every penny counts. I mean, the coffee volume that is traded globally is millions of pounds that are being imported, millions of pounds that are being consumed, and it is a penny business. It's a very thin margin, just like a lot of the commodity businesses. A lot of the other coffee ports in the U.S., that's New York, Miami, and New Orleans, have benefited very well from not having an ad valorem tax. What that meant is being able to store personal property or store the inventories without the year-end tax. That was a hurdle for us to really grow the business in the trade in Texas, because that tax was a significant obstacle to obtaining, first, the designation as an exchange port, and also to allow importers to use Houston as a spot location for coffee. For decades, Houston, and really Texas, has been the home for several large coffee roasters and coffee manufacturers. You got Folgers, you got Maxwell House, you got Sara Lee. You got one of the best representation as far as manufacturing in the state of Texas. Yet, without any significant growth.
When you say manufacturing, you know, are you talking about what kind of? Are you talking about tens of thousands of acres of coffee being grown in Texas?
No, the coffee is being imported in its green state, which is raw. And then when it comes into the
U.S.
U.S.
no coffee grown in Texas. That's not what we're talking about. We're purely talking about coffee from other parts of the world.
That's correct.
Being stored there. How long is it stored in the port of Houston or wherever it's?
I mean, coffee typically will turn anywhere between 1 and 2 years, but you can have coffee that can sit for 5 years. So I mean, I think it's a raw green coffee that, again, has to come in and be roasted in the U.S. and then put into a package. So for example, Maxwell House, Folgers, or Sara Lee, they will roast it, grind it, and pack it into their label for national distribution.
Okay. So are we still talking about this raw product, or are we talking about a Maxwell House can with coffee being stored in Harris County?
No, the exemption only applies to its raw state, when it's green prior to roasting.
Okay. So when you were saying these major coffee companies, are you saying they're locating in Texas? Or
no, they have been located. Well, they have been located in Texas for decades, right? Maxwell House has been in Houston, you know, for maybe 50, 60 years. Folgers has been in Sherman, Texas, and then we have Sara Lee also located in Houston. So these are well-established manufacturers. Obviously, one of the problems that we had is it wasn't significant growth. It was well represented from roasters or manufacturers, yet for the past 20 years, there have been a lot of decline in manufacturing. A lot of those manufacturing facilities were growing more in Jacksonville, they were growing in Miami, New York, and New Orleans. A big part of it is because of the ad valorem or the inventory tax on that green coffee. So there was actually a decline in jobs being generated or created in our industry during the 80s and 90s in Texas. Again, without the exemption on the inventory held in Harris County at year-end, the Port of Houston could not apply for the exchange port designation with the New York Board of Trade. Again, all other major coffee ports don't have an ad valorem tax.
Okay, so if the, I guess, business office of Maxwell Houses in Harris County, that's not exempt, but the warehouses where the coffee is stored is exempt?
Not the warehouses, not the real property, only the personal property. So it will only be the inventory. Right.
Okay. So the exemption is only on this?
On the product, correct. It's not clear that over the past 5 years it has benefited significantly from the exemption. Our imports are up several hundred percentage points, and I think you can see that from the charts. And global food companies are now looking at Houston, and more importantly Texas, as a friendly state to manufacture and grow their business. Today we're doing business with companies such as Starbucks, Nestle, McDonald's, 8 O'Clock, Smuckers, Farmer Brothers, and others that had never manufactured a product or a coffee product in Texas. Those are jobs that are being generated today. Those are capital investments that we've had to make to manufacture a lot of those products as well, that will pay a property tax on that investment that we're putting in Houston or in Texas. Again, this provides jobs directly on our industry, as well as supporting industries such as the port, trucking, brokers, trading, warehousing, inspection services, insurance, packing materials. There's a lot of services that, as we grow our industry, as we grow the imports and the storage of coffee, a lot of other industries benefit directly from that. The growth in warehousing today utilizes close to 1 million square feet. Historically, we only use maybe 200,000 square feet. So we're talking about significant warehouse growth and absorption that was done by the coffee industry. And again, the warehouses will continue to pay property taxes. It's really just the inventory. That generated over 100 jobs. So you're talking about 100 jobs at an average wage of $30,000. You're talking about $3 million in wages as a benefit to the region. In addition to this, at our facility, as an example, we've added over 90 jobs to the manufacture of coffee for some of the accounts like I mentioned before, whether it's Starbucks or Smuckers or Nestle that had never manufactured in Texas. There have also been new trading companies established, trucking companies, roasters in Tyler, in San Antonio, in Fort Worth, and the list keeps on growing. I mean, I think it's been a fantastic success that we've seen as a coffee association and what it can do from a development standpoint as far as growing industry and growing jobs in Texas. Again, in summary, we have met and exceeded our objectives, and I recommend that we continue to exempt green coffee as a huge benefit to Texas and to our economy.
If we were to do away with it, would you no longer be able to be registered on the exchange?
That's correct.
If we were to modify it, for example, if it's costing the state money, if the school district of Harris County grants it, and we just modified that part, would that take you off the exchange? Or
it would.
No?
It would take us off the exchange.
Any part?
Any part, any tax on the inventory. And really, when you look at it, the actual taxes that were collected in coffee at the end of the year, the ad valorem on inventory tax was roughly between $200,000 and $300,000 a year. The benefit you can see from job creation, from almost 700,000 square feet of new warehousing being generated, and jobs, I think, far succeeds that. So,
all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.